Go.
Hi, welcome. Welcome to Yo Soy Neighborhoods Fresno. Thank you for watching. Today we have a special guest, a very new member of the City Council, Fresno City Council. Do I need to start again? Fresno City Councilman Nelson Esparza.
Thank you for having me.
Today, he's known Smiley for a little bit of time, right?
Smiley's a constituent of mine. That's actually how I know him.
Oh, you're in the district.
He lives in District Number 7.
That's right.
Oh, okay. So how'd you get
And
to
that
know
happens
him?
to be the best district in Fresno. That's what I think.
I
right?
agree.
Oh, there. I need to move over there then.
Yeah, we got the best tacos.
The best tacos. So that's how I met Nelson. I saw his signs up, and actually, I saw the signs of the other guy, which he won't be named.
Okay.
But and I met that guy at a gas station, and I was impressed by him until I met Nelson. And I remember I was walking from downtown Fresno to my house, just walking the streets, and I saw the Democratic, the convention offices.
It was the party headquarters.
Party headquarters.
Right.
And I walked in, and then they were very nice, and then we talked a little bit, and then I got to know Nelson more, which was great. And thank God he won the election, and I'm excited.
So how long ago was this?
When was this?
That was a little over, give or take, a year ago. I think you stumbled into the headquarters.
Yeah.
Give or take a year, roughly.
So now I was reading a little bit about your background. You were on the school board, was that it? Or?
Yeah, so I was on the Fresno County Board of Education. So that's separate from the Fresno Unified School Board.
Okay,
so we have different layers of educational institutions here in Fresno. So we have a Fresno Unified Board. Of course, you have the other unified districts like Central and Clovis and Washington Union. We have our County Office of Education. That's governed by a 5-member board elected by district, as well as the County Superintendent of Schools, who is elected countywide.
So you just ran for that position to be on the board?
Yes, I was a board. I ran for the County Board of Education in 2016, actually, in District Number 3.
But why did you feel that you were qualified to be on the Board of Education? Can you tell us a little bit about how you came to be Nelson Esparza, council member, Nelson Esparza,
Well,
the myth, the legend?
And is he born here in Fresno?
Tell us a little bit about
Tell
you,
us.
Nelson. We want to get to know you.
All right, yeah, sure. So
Our audience wants to get to know you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was actually born in Madera, about 20, 30 minutes north of here, depending which part of Fresno you're leaving from.
Right.
And did my kind of K through 12 there. When I finished my finished schooling here in the Valley, I left down south, went down to UC Riverside.
Nice. That's where I'm from. I'm from that Southern California, so that's great.
The Inland Empire.
Yes.
Yeah. And what I loved about the Inland Empire is so similar to the Central Valley.
True.
Similar issues.
How so?
It's similar demographics, similar public policy issues, similar weather, right?
I was going to say the heat, right?
It's also inland California, right? And if you look at just the political dichotomy of California, inland California versus coastal California.
Yeah.
So I just found a lot of similarities in the community down there. And
Agriculture, cows.
Yeah, except down there they did a lot of citrus historically.
Yes.
And so
up against the hills.
It felt right. So I attended UC Riverside for 4 years, did a very small stint at Berkeley during that time.
Well, wait a minute. Now, tell us about what degree? I know when we spoke once, you were an economist?
Yes, yeah. So my bachelor's degree is in economics.
Okay.
Yeah, down at Riverside.
Okay.
And then I got my master's degree in public policy over at UCLA.
That's great.
The Luskin School of Public Affairs is the school there.
That's a good school.
Yeah. So, in between all of this, early on is when I really discovered my passion for public service. I think I'm very fortunate as a young man. I was able to kind of discover that. I had kind of the right people guiding me and who supported me.
As a young man, you're still a young man. Seriously, I feel like I can be. How old are you?
In early adulthood. Yeah, very
He's not
early
going to
adulthood.
tell.
Oh, well, I'll leave it to your imagination.
Very young. That's awesome.
Well, okay, so what was your first position, or did you have a professional position
Yeah,
first?
so I can kind of pinpoint. Oh, you mean in terms of my professional career?
After you left college, did you start working for someone, or?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, let me tell the story in chronological order. A lot of questions.
Good.
Yeah,
Yes, we
and
do.
The puzzle pieces are all over the table. So just to pinpoint my first public service experience, when I went to college, I knew I wanted to major in economics. I didn't know a lot about it. I just knew it was kind of, to me, a way to understand the world, better interpret the world, and solve problems. But it took a little bit of time for me to kind of figure out, what I want to do with that. People used to ask me, and I'd say, I want to be chairman of the Federal Reserve, or something like that. But my very first year of college, this fellowship application came across my desk, and I had the opportunity the summer after my first year of college to go up to Sacramento and intern for a first-term assembly member in the Capitol. And
that's exciting.
There was that was the internship component of the fellowship. Outside of that 9 to 5, there mornings and evenings and weekends, there was also an educational component, a networking component, where it was basically a crash course in California politics and public policy.
Well, a crash course, 18 months or 6?
No, it was the summer, just the summer. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's it?
I had to go back to
Holy
Riverside in the fall, obviously, to continue schooling. And so from there on, right, I was sold. Right, I felt like, okay, I
found your passion.
Yeah, I found my passion. I didn't know necessarily which capacity I wanted to make change in, or even what jurisdiction in particular. But I knew I had a passion for public service, and for me, it's always been a way for me to sleep good at night. Right, knowing that you try to help somebody, I try to help many people. Right, and so service was my field. Service was my field. And that was the experience that really solidified that for me. And I was fortunate to have that experience. I was still 18 at that time, actually.
Oh my
I
goodness.
hadn't quite turned 19 yet.
So then when did you first run for office?
2016, as I was saying earlier. That was my first run for office. So when I finished my undergraduate degree, I came back here and I worked for the County Department of Social Services.
Let me interrupt. Before you did that, we talked over tacos, I have to say. And yeah, and
you know secrets.
He knows tacos in Fresno, and that's a different topic. But you told me that you worked for the mayor in Riverside.
I did.
That's crucial.
Yeah, I did. So those formative years, those college years, and even the years I did my master's degree, I had a lot of opportunities within that. Right. So it wasn't just being in the classroom. It was the holistic experience of trying to get out there and gain some level of experience. When I was 20 years old, starting in my third year of college, that's actually where I started teaching economics for the first time as a supplemental instructor there to fellow undergraduates on campus at UC Riverside.
That's awesome.
So I had that internship the end of my freshman year at the Capitol. Took a class with the mayor of Riverside when I was a junior in college. And he called me up after the class, after the quarter was over, and asked me to come intern for him in his office.
Awesome.
Said, hey, I can't. I'm going to Berkeley this summer. He said, okay, I'll give you a call. And sure enough, during the fall, I returned, and before school had started, he gave me a call and got me set up, and I was his policy intern.
Wow.
He must have really seen something in you and your work and your personality and your character.
Well, I really enjoyed the topic, right? And at that point, I had lots of time engaging the topic of California public policy and the different issues, writing about it, taking classes, and just really digging my teeth into the subject. And so when I got to his class when I was a junior, right, I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot. And him being a mayor, I learned a lot about local government.
That's really cool.
That is so cool.
And then got to work under him during my senior year of college. So
a lot of people don't get that opportunity.
Now, did you feel that you could become a council member when you were a college person? I mean, that seems like there's only a few of you guys, and to make that step, to really feel like I can do something, I can make a difference? Or did that internship help you see that you could do it too?
All of the above. I mean, all of the above. I think, again, being that young, 18 when it first really solidified that public service was my field, it was very tough to know, again, which capacity. But obviously,
well, at 18, you think you can win them all, right?
Yeah. But even as the years progressed, right? I mean, I always thought, I could potentially do that one day. I'd be interested in possibly running. Little did I know how young I would be when I actually did run in the future. And so, yes, the short answer was yes to all of that.
That's inspiring, because as citizens or as residents, sometimes it's frustrating. How can we make a difference? I mean, we see things happening in our city. What can we do? I mean,
that's
you know what I mean?
true. That's true.
Well, yeah. So where I really made kind of a conscious decision, a conscious leap was, I'd say it was the summer of 2014. I was back here, and that was the summer between my first year of graduate school and my second year of graduate school.
So you're going to graduate school while you're running?
No. This was prior.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so this is summer 2014. And at that point, I had the privilege of interning with the Board of Supervisors down here at the Hall of Records downtown. And I had to fill in internship hours. And I got a fellowship at UCLA that paid me to kind of pretty much just choose where I wanted to go. So I secured the funding with UCLA. It was called the Michael Dukakis Fellowship. It was named after him. He was one of my professors at UCLA, actually.
He was?
Yeah.
Wow.
He was very good.
Yeah, so
politician.
Right. So I know I call him the governor. I know the governor fairly well. We keep in touch.
Really?
So I secured that funding, and I knew I wanted to come back and be in the community here locally. So I applied to different places, and I was fortunate to get the opportunity at the Board of Supervisors. And
so did you work with Sal Candiato?
I worked with Henry R. Perea.
I
represented this district actually. At that time.
What district is this?
This is Board Supervisor District number 3. So it's really kind of central South Fresno, south of Shields, roughly. That's roughly the dividing line for the district. So had that opportunity, and that was really, I think, the kind of eye-popping moment where I looked around and I made a very, very firm decision that, okay, I know I want to be in public service, and this is where I'm going to come back and settle here at home.
So what was the trigger?
Oh, no, just looking around at the different, so.
You must have seen something that you felt passionate about and said, okay, I think I can help fix this.
Well, yeah, but the issues we have here in Fresno, they're everywhere, but they're exacerbated here in Fresno for different reasons, a lot of different reasons. And what I saw when I looked up at our leaders at that time, back in that summer of 2014, I thought to myself, I think I could do a better job. And I thought I had been kind of dedicating my my studies and my career and such to service, and I thought maybe I'll make the jump here soon at some point.
That was your direction. That was good. No,
yeah, so
it's good thinking.
It really solidified at that point, right? I'm going to do public service here in the Valley.
But now that you're in that seat,
that's right. Yeah.
How does it feel?
Well, I'm.
You're getting there.
I'm still answering some of the questions you guys had asked.
What time do we have? Okay.
Yeah. So going forward, finished my degree, came back here, continued teaching economics at Fresno City College.
You're still doing that, right?
I'm still doing that. Yeah. I've been doing that for going on my 5th year, I think.
I love economics. People don't understand about economics. I mean, that's why I love when I met Nelson. So I came from a university that we studied economics, and we have a really good economics school. And people don't understand what economics is. It's not just about money. It's about how you make decisions, and how you allocate resources, limited resources. And so when I heard that Nelson teaches economics, and oh my gosh, he knows what we can do to help this city. If people will listen,
It's not only money. It's just it's the layers of putting it together.
It's about where we're allocating our resources.
Right. And also the districts. how now the entire population has changed. When I left here, there was less than 200,000 people. Okay,
Whoa.
and that was in 1981.
Okay.
And I returned in 2014 officially, 32 years later.
Wow.
But I didn't see a big change. There hadn't been a big change. What I noticed right away is that the changes that were made within the structure itself were not the same as when I left. The downtown area had become a desert, basically, because it was vibrant when I left.
Wow.
Chinatown was working, downtown Fresno was working, they had Gottschalks, Pennies, Woolworths, they had a lot of stores down there. Now that I've moved back closer to downtown area, I noticed there isn't any place to go. Like, you have to go to Fashion Fair. If you're right down, 5 minutes away, why don't we have those stores? Why did they go away? I was scratching my head going, this doesn't make sense. This is not the Fresno I left.
And all of that still exists. It's just, it's just a little further.
Yes.
Yeah, it's sprawled out. Yeah.
Yeah, but all of it, it's piled on because you're leaving a whole population from the downtown, surrounding the downtown area, without services. You know what I'm saying? They're limited. We don't get to go to the candy store anymore. The shoe shine guy's not there. Things that us folks, the citizens, need, daily life items. And those things concern me because, well, as we're all experiencing with the blight down there, it's caused a lot of situations that are unnecessary. The other thing that concerned me is that when I left, the Chinatown area had been built up by us Mexicanos because they wouldn't allow us to work within the downtown area because at that time, the 50s, 60s, and we all know, was discriminatory. And people were still stuck in the old way. The Mexicans and all the other people of color were in Chinatown versus downtown Fresno. Now, my understanding, and talking to some of the fellas that I've come in contact with that were there building their businesses, is that there were some changes in money and situations, and that took away the ability for them to make money in their businesses that had already been established for many years. So I'm not quite clear on that, but I'm going to bring Freddie on one time and have him talk about it.
What do you think we can do to help make downtown vibrant again? Or is that, what's going on?
I'll tell you this. I very much believe in Fresno's downtown. We have come a long way, I'd say, in the last 10 years, but we still have a very, very long way to go.
Yes.
And I, in my travels throughout just even the state of California alone, right, and other close by states, going to other urban municipalities, just hanging out in their downtown, seeing what they have to offer, looking at the populations, the income levels, we have the potential to do it here.
Yeah.
But it's going to take really a team effort, a community effort, and
well, when you say team, we're part of the team.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, yeah, community effort, and really a decisive direction on what where we want to see downtown go. I mean, I think we have a lot of potential left for more housing, more retail.
Well, since you mentioned that, I saw that the board of the you guys, I think the city council just passed something that allows housing, affordable housing in the downtown area. Did I read it right?
I have voted on a number of housing projects in downtown.
Yeah.
It's not my district. I do cover a small corner of it over UCSF, community hospital, so those neighborhoods there. But largely downtown is represented in District 3. That's where most of downtown lies.
Who's the rep for that?
My colleague, Miguel.
Oh.
Sorry. And so, although I don't represent downtown directly, I very, very much care about it because I believe it's really this main sort of organ, right, to our city. I want to see it grow. I mean, I want to see it literally rise.
Well, I think rebuilding it, I mean, it's going to be better. I'm looking towards that it would be better than what was left behind.
Sure, yeah, and it's coming together piecemeal right now. Like I said, in my short tenure so far on the council, I know I've voted on a number. I've been proud to vote on a number downtown projects. And even things that I hadn't necessarily voted directly on, like the Hotel Fresno being converted to housing, right, where that came to fruition and is
That's
now
great.
happening.
Yeah, and that structure is still pretty good as far as earthquake-wise, and
I don't know
they'll fix it.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna
No,
speak on the.
you're not a building inspector. I know that. But I was just in my head. Excuse me.
yeah.
But I was, because the reason, and when you said building and that building, there are many really beautiful buildings that have been torn down, but I would like to see that a lot of the buildings that we do have, not only downtown and other areas, like over here, this area Esmeralda it represents, that's that tower area. One of the homes along Fruit in that area around the St. Agnes area, a lot of those should be saved because they were built for a specific purpose during World War II. The nurses and the doctors would come in. I mean, there's, what I'm saying? There's some little pockets that represent our history.
Sure.
And they should be preserved, I think. And also a lot of if you can just reinforce and clean up and make pretty what you have, I think that would save us a lot more money. Maybe my thinking is wrong. I don't know.
It's always cheaper to do the right thing, but
That sounded like a profound statement.
It is. I mean, it's always cheaper to do the right thing.
Because if you do the wrong thing, you got to fix it, right?
It's very much more expensive, right?
And what's
but
the right
you,
thing?
You don't have the foresight. I mean, just one example, right? Just out of, not necessarily in this context, but maybe if we invested more upfront in early childhood education and our children and programming, maybe we would not be paying, 45, 50,000 per prisoner every year,
That's right.
later on down the pipeline. So it's always cheaper to do the right thing. I firmly believe that as an economist and as a policymaker.
That's great.
But we as leaders don't always have the foresight or the political will or courage or resources, whatever it might be, standing in the way to actually,
But we also
make
may
those
not
investments.
agree on what is the right thing.
Correct. Yeah, and
What's the right thing?
Yeah, and like I said, right, I mean, can we as a community come up with a decisive direction for downtown? We as a community, right, I represent Central Fresno and Southeast Fresno. You live kind of more in the southeast portion there. So my primary focus is actually the Blackstone corridor. I've seen what's happened to downtown over the last decade, and I think it's Blackstone's time now to face some of that redevelopment. And so, in my term here, whether it's one term or two terms, I'm not sure if I will be in office to see it all necessarily come to fruition, but I do hope to plant the seeds to redevelop Blackstone.
Do we have term limits here now?
We do have term limits in Fresno. You can serve
8 years, so?
Well,
Two times?
in Fresno, you can serve 2 consecutive terms, and theoretically, if you waited a term, you could rerun. If you stayed
Okay.
one term out of office,
Okay.
you could theoretically run. And some council members have done that, where they served 2 terms and then they came back later and represented the district again.
So, and that Blackstone part of it, you're going to take the front part of it? I know that
Well,
AJ...
so with Blackstone, I mean, what I envision for Blackstone is, some version of what I envision for downtown. Mixed-use developments, housing, retail, and recently in this year on the council, we passed what's called the Southern Blackstone Mobility Project Strategy, and this is a plan, it's a vision. Where we kind of tighten up the streets on both sides of Blackstone, take one
Okay.
lane off each side, you expand the sidewalks, there's more trees, and we call it the Mobility Project
Very
because
nice.
it's supposed to be a walkable, livable, bikeable,
Thank you.
right, area, or as opposed to folks passing through Blackstone, they're going to live there, they're going to shop there, they're going to be able to transport themselves in different modes.
So
up and
it'll
down
be
the
more
corridor.
attractive. Yeah, that'll be very nice.
So that's the vision. That's the vision.
What about, I know I've seen signs, you've seen them on the street too, help Fresno, don't give to panhandlers. Is that going to create more of an issue if we have the oasis on Blackstone and people can camp out there, or is that not an issue?
I see. So those signs are not binding. What I mean by that is they don't have any actual legal ramification.
So it's just like a reminder.
The signs are a suggestion to not give to panhandlers.
And that was a very political. I remember I wrote about it in the Fresno Flyer. I also write for the Fresno Flyer, and it was really heated about should we I mean, can we give money to panhandlers, to the homeless? And it was during the summertime, so it was very hot. You know, couldn't even give water to them. I mean, it was a very a controversial.
So this issue manifested itself in 3 different policy proposals and votes. So the very first vote proposal was brought forth by 3 of my colleagues, and they wanted to fine, again, the provider, right, the drivers for giving to panhandlers in while they were driving in certain areas. So that proposal, I was opposed to that, and it ended up not passing.
Right.
So then there was a second proposal. The second and third were the same, except which was just the signs, just the suggestion. And Councilmember Bretta Fields, and I think maybe I don't know if he had a co-sponsor or not, I can't recall. He brought that, and that failed. I voted against that. And then it came back to us recently. I voted against it there. It passed that time around.
Yeah.
So now the signs are not mandatory.
Right.
It's at the discretion of.
We have a couple of minutes left, and you wrote a recent article about redistricting.
Right.
Let's touch on that for 2 minutes.
Yeah. So I wrote an article about the idea that, hey, Fresno might need more representation. I mean, back in the day, it was written that we could have up to 9 council members. Is that right?
In the initial, so when the city went to a strong mayor form of government, we carved out a 7th council seat, which is the seat I hold now.
That was during Ted Will's.
And then
I think
there was a clause in there where once you hit a certain population, that would trigger us going
500,000, right?
to 9 districts. I forget what the original number was, but now through a charter amendment, it actually was changed about 8-9 years ago to 650,000 thresholds, and that's so essentially when District 7 was carved out and had the first member representing it. They represented significantly less people than I represent today because the city has grown and the number of council members has stayed the same.
Tripled.
Yeah, and right now we're about maybe 530,000. By the time we get to 650,000, it'll be substantially more people.
So does that create the lopsidedness in what we see in each district as far as blight and different things?
No, that's not what I had attributed to. So we reapportion the districts every 10 years after the census count. So we reapportion it so that every district has equal population. But I'll tell you this, there are different levels of political participation in every council district. Even though they theoretically all have the same number of people living there, they do not vote in equal numbers.
No.
Yeah,
they never do.
And that creates a political problem and a policy problem, which manifests itself in.
So us as a community need to get out there and vote on those issues.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, I encourage anybody who can vote. It's your civic duty.
And that'll help you help us perhaps get more money in and funding and recognition.
It's holistic, yeah. It's holistic. It's bigger than any one representative. I think you have to participate, and what happens when you don't participate is you get someone who represents, say, maybe a minority faction of the population who voted.
We have 1 minute. So what would you like to tell the audience in 1 minute that would help us?
Sure. I think I want to thank both of you for inviting me to be on the show today.
Oh, you're welcome. We just love you having you here.
Yeah, and I think what you're doing here, just having these civic conversations, you found your own way to engage through this type of media.
I was trying.
And so everyone has their role, right? And if you haven't found yours yet, I encourage you to do so, to stay civically engaged in our community in whichever way you feel is right for you. So for me, it's running for city council. For you, it's this media outlet.
Right.
And for whoever may be watching, you got to find your way.
Vote, vote,
Awesome.
vote.